Good people of YouTube, my name is Spanner, welcome back to another episode of Dark Souls 2. So, last time I died, so let's get our revenge. This time there is no alarm to distract me. It actually gives me a chance to explain something else right now. This is our bloodstain. When you touch your bloodstain, you recover the souls you have lost, because every time you die, you lose all your souls. But you can recover them by collecting your, by touching your bloodstain. It's basically, if it's a kind of like a recover corpse mechanic from other games. Except you only lose your souls. However, if you die before losing your souls, it creates a new blood pool with all the soul... Well, you lose the... Okay, let's start off again. Let's say we die, we lose our souls, or 200 souls. And then I have 0 souls and come to collect our 200 souls. Let's say I kill an enemy and gain 100 souls. If I then die, and then it creates a new blood pool, and I can recover those souls in that blood pool, but those are only 100 souls. The other ones are lost. So if you die, you lose your previous blood pool and all your souls that were stored in that blood pool. I hope I made myself clear. Alright, Ogre, round 2. You can also lock onto an enemy, ow, by pressing the right thumbstick. Ow. Okay, as you can see here, in Dark Souls the attacks are basically heavily telegraphed, so you can actually dodge them and avoid them, and that's pretty important. Dark Souls is not only a game of skill, but it's also a game of knowledge. The more you know, the better you do. This is a grab attack, we saw that later. It creates an opening for us to attack. So let's go in this direction. The ogres usually do a 3-hit combo. And when they do that back slam, it's usually a good idea to attack. Although, don't stand behind him when he does that. Here's another grab. Oh, I'm not quite in range to do that. If you stand behind him, let's see if I can do it. Or maybe not. If you stand behind him, he'll try and sit on top of you. It also gives you a good opening. Come on. There he goes. And we acquire the stone ring and 1000 souls. And over here we have gold pine resin. Okay, before we continue, since we got a ring, let me explain some more stuff. So, this is your equipment. You can equip up to 3 weapons or other items like spell catalysts on your right hand, and the same on your left hand. But you can only use one at a time, so you can switch them. Like if I press the right on the D-pads, it'll switch to the next one. Although there's nothing, so we just get an empty hands. Here we can equip up to 4 rings. Here we equip our armor. And here are our items. You can equip more items here, like gold pine resin, rusted coin, up to 10. And we can scroll through the items by pressing down on the D-pads. But let's just remove them since I don't need these. Let's equip our new ring. Stone ring. You can see here it has a current durability and maximum durability. All items you equip have a durability, except consumables. Which is the red bar you see here on the weapons and armor. Once the durability is gone, the items break and you lose all of their effects, unless you go to a blacksmith to repair them, or other NPC that actually repairs items. Rings can also break, as you can see here. It also has... before I forget, you can restore item durability at a bonfire if they are not broken. If they are broken, you can only restore them by repairing the item in a proper NPC. Here we also have the weight of the item. You can see, okay, I can't go over there. You see those numbers above our souls? 19.7 out of 49.0. That's our current weight, the weight of everything we have equipped. All items we can equip here, armor, weapons, shields, rings, have a weight, except consumables, of course. The more you weigh, well, the more you weigh, the less effective is your roll. So now we can roll pretty nicely at a 40% encumbrance. If I unequip everything, it's a bit of a swifter roll. Your roll is pretty okay if it's under 70%. There are exact numbers for roll effectiveness depending on the carry weight, but I don't know the exact numbers, but below 70% you usually can do a decent roll like this. Maybe not quite as fast if you're close to 70, but it still looks like a roll. If it's above 70, you'll notice it. It's a lot slower. So let's equip our item. It says reduces additional reduction of enemy poise. So let's start explaining our stats and stuff. So in our equipment, if we press Y, you can see the player status, our level, our stats. This is our HP, our stamina, our equipment loads. This is the damage of our of the weapon equipped in the first slot of our right hand, second slot, third slot, and the same for the left hand. If you press Y again, you have our defenses. You have defenses to, you have your physical defenses against strike, slash, and thrust. These are damage types. If you can see here, our broadswords, it says slash. It's a slash weapon, it's the attack type. Slash is more weapons that actually slash, like this. Thrust weapons things like rapiers where you attack, well, maybe not like this, where you didn't I have one moveset like this? Well, maybe not on this weapon. But rapiers and weapons where you actually thrust with the weapon are thrust attacks, and strike are more like blunt weapons like hammers and maces. Strike is usually a pretty good damage type against heavily armored opponents. That's why the mace is a pretty strong weapon. Anyway, where were we? Okay, these are physical defenses. Then we have magic defense, which is our defense against magic damage, which is caused by sorceries and other types of enchantments. Then there is fire defense, reduces damage from fire attacks, usually pyromancies or fire enchanted weapons. Lightning defense against lightning attacks, like some miracles and lightning infused weapons. Then there is dark defense, usually protection from hexes and weapons infused with dark. These are your basic 4 elements: magic, fire, lightning and dark. Then you have your status resistance. You have poison, bleeds, petrify and curse. So these are resistances against status effects. Then there is poise. Poise is an interesting stat. It's the ability to, well, as it says right here, ability to withstand the impact of attacks. So poise, let's see, if we attack an enemy with this weapon, for example, after a certain number of attacks, we can actually stagger the opponent. Weapons also have a stat like this. Where is it? Poise damage. It's strength of impact, disrupting opponent's poise. So our armor has poise, and weapons have poise damage. So poise is your ability to withstand attacks. And let's say, for example, that I'm wearing armor and I'm getting attacked by an enemy. If the enemy has high poise damage and I have low poise resistance, after every attack or 2 I can get staggered and can't do anything. If I have very high poise, then if I'm getting attacked by 2, 3 or 4 attacks, I can still counter-attack with the weapon without getting staggered. So it's basically this: if you have high poise, there's less of a chance of you getting staggered by attacks, and you can do attacks of your own. Although that can be countered by high poise damage weapons. But more on our resistances. Then there are your attunement slots. I have 0. This is the number of slots you get for spells. Each spell takes 1 slot. There are spells that may take 2 or more. Here is your casting speeds and agility. Agility is a stat that's boosted by increasing your adaptability. It's currently at 87, and the more agility you have, you get more invincibility frames when you roll. So we have this roll right here. The more agility we have, well, when we roll, we are invincible for a couple of frames here. And the more agility you have, the longer that lasts. Agility also increases the speed at which we use some items, I think. Where was I? I think that's it for defenses. So this ring that we equipped, which additional reduction of enemy poise, that makes our attacks break our enemy poise much quicker. Okay, let's go over here and rest at the bonfire and recover our health. and restore our item's durability. Now you can see that defenses are gained by armor and some rings too. So you can see here our equipment status. We have all the resistances, the poise that and the physical defenses that we've seen earlier, and the durability and the weight. And now for weapons. Weapons are a bit different. You may notice we have some numbers over here and some letters. Let's go over to the item status here first. So it's a straight sword and the slash attack type. It deals 120 physical attack, no magic, fire, lightning, none of this, no poison effects, no bleed effects. This is the counter strength. Now a counter occurs when you attack an enemy while they're in the middle of doing their own attack animation. So the enemy starts attacking, you attack and hit them first, that counts as a counter, it deals more damage. Here's the poise damage. Shot range, this is mostly for ranged weapons like bows or crossbows. Casting speed, this is for magic catalysts. And it has some of its own reductions. Since, let's see, some weapons can be used to block. Alright, just a quick correction before we continue. To block with a weapon, you can use it with any weapon. You just need to, well, any melee weapon. You just need to two-hand the weapon. Just wield the weapon with two hands and just block. Just use the same block button as you would with a shield. You can also parry with some weapons, but mostly shields. And with your bare hands, by pressing the left trigger. I'll try and do that to some enemies over here. Yeah, let's move. Oh, before I move on, just more on the weapons. It has all of these reductions, but I'll explain these more once we have an actual shield. And then here are your requirements. So weapons pretty much all have required attributes. This one requires us to have 11 strength and 6 dexterity. We have that. And these letters here, these refer to attribute scaling. So scaling goes from worst to best. E, D, C, B, A, and finally S, which is the best scaling you can get. So this scaling means that the more strength you have, you get some bonus damage from your strength. You also, since it has a C scaling in strength, we also get some damage bonus from dexterity, but it's going to be less since it's only a D scaling. Some weapons scale with higher strength, some weapons scale better with dexterity, some scale with both, the so-called quality weapons. Some even scale with intelligence and faith. But more on that when we get better weapons. Okay. Okay, so this is the tutorial area. Here is a sconce here, you can light your torch. And torches have a limited duration. Over there you can see you only have 5 minutes, since I only have one torch. We'll get more torches later, and it adds to the total time the torches can be active. You can use them to light other sconces like this. If you light all of them in this area, there's a a dark phantom appears, a red invader phantom, which you can kill. Not sure what he drops though, but he appears once you light all of them. Oh, I opened it without explaining it. This was a fog door. Fog doors usually divide areas, and they're always before a boss. Well, almost always. There are some special cases. So over here it tells you how to attack. You can kill this guy and gain some souls. How to target. Oh, and while you're how to lock onto an enemy, and you can change targets by moving your right stick while you're locked, if there's more than one target. How to sprint. I've already covered that. Let's see if I missed anything. Oh, this is a neat one. How to backstab or do a critical hit. So this doesn't work with all enemies, but most common enemies will allow you to do this. Usually with every enemy that's around your size, maybe a little bit bigger. So if you approach the enemy from behind, you can press attack and you'll do a backstab. This is a critical hit. There are other ways to do critical hits. Let's see if I can do another one over here. Here we get a dagger. The dagger is a slash thrust weapon, and it has a pretty high counter strength and a good attribute bonus for dexterity. Not that great for strength. So it's more of a dexterity weapon. Let's equip it on our second slot. Pretty low range. Here's our thrust attack. But it's more of a weapon you use to do critical hits. You can also equip it on your left hand. No, I can't do it with this. There is a way to actually dual wield weapons. Right now I can attack with my right hand weapon. And pressing the left button, you can attack with our left hand weapon. And right trigger for the heavy attack. You can parry with this one. And if you long press Y, you can power stance them. However, you need a certain amount of stats for that. If I'm not mistaken, and I probably will be. By the way, let me just say this: if you're interested in actual numbers, you should take a look at one of the wikis, since they're pretty detailed with that. So I believe if you want to power stance a weapon, you need the required stat plus half of it. So if you want to dual wield broadswords, you need 11 plus 11 strength plus half of it, rounded up, which will be 6, so 17 strength. And 9 dexterity, I want to say. I don't remember how it works if they're different weapons. I think it's the highest of the two, or you sum them. I don't remember. But I think if you want to dual wield broadswords, that would be correct. Half of the stat plus half of it rounded up. So let's see if oh, this guy's ranged, so let's not do it against this one. Okay, you over there. Let's try and do a parry, if I can. with our bare hands. Okay, it didn't work. Okay, so a parry, usually with a shield or a proper weapon, not your bare fist. And you press your left trigger. And you have to time it so your parry hits him. You see this movement right here. So it hits the enemy. So it hits the attack of the enemy. Okay, a bit too quick, or too slow in this case. Does this even work? No. Too fast. Really? Doesn't seem to work. Okay, I'll do this once I get a proper shield. Okay, here's how we switch the weapons. Oh, but I might be... Okay, a parry... Well, a parry occurs when you do that with a shield or a proper weapon. Not your fist. Fist sucks for this. And then you press attack and you perform a critical hit. This is how to backstab. It's one of the 3 ways you can perform a critical hit. The other one is this. If I can actually do it. I can never get the timing of this right. No. Basically, you can stagger an enemy and break his defense by pressing up and attack. Not like this. Not like this. Like this. At the same time. And if you press attack afterwards, although you can perform a critical hit on them. Although you need to get the timing right and it needs to be at a certain distance depending on the weapon, I think. I actually just found out you could do this in this game the other day. I thought it was something new they added just in Dark Souls 3, but apparently not. How to use items. How to move the camera. This has all been explained. Here we can kick the ladder down. Okay, so here we see this nest. This nest is a special trader. He said he wanted to give you to give them something smooth and silky. So it's a good thing we got a small smooth and silky stone. You can select it and leave. And they'll give you some other random item. No, I don't want to talk to you, pick up item. A Divine Blessing. A Divine Blessing fully restores hit points and cures all status effects. You can also leave regular smooth and silky stones and these petrified somethings. Old Whip. Oh, it's a weapon. Effect. Attack boost against hollows. Oh, can I equip this? Needs 20 dexterity. So no, I can't. But yeah, if you get those items, come over here, leave them one at a time. You can't leave all about 2 or more. You can only leave one. One at a time. Before we use the ladder, let's jump down here, get an item. What's this? Yeah, light sconces with a torch. I know. I've explained it. Okay, here is a ladder. You can climb up. Like this, or down. If you climb up while pressing B, you climb up faster, but use stamina. And if you climb down by pressing B, you slide down. So, pretty useful. Alright, I think I've explained maybe too much in this episode since it's already time to end it. It's a pretty brief explanation so far. We'll be going in more in depth later once we get more weapons, more armor. Basically we need different stuff. Well, but for now, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed another episode of my Dark Souls 2 walkthrough / guide or whatever this is, and I'll see you all next time.